Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Corporal Church from Operation Defender. We're a channel all about raising awareness on military things, not just issues like mental health, but deep, like looking into stereotypes that affect things like employment, and just trying to mostly educate the general public about all things military. If you like this video and or the content, please click like for the button down there somewhere, and subscribe to the channel and just help us all grow together. So for today's content, if my voice sounds familiar, maybe you follow my Church of Caboose channel. But for today's video on Operation Defender, we're going to talk about, say you want to join the military, how do I tell my parents and loved ones? For some folks, it can be rather scary. Some families, kids grow up where their families are obviously anti-military or just like make it very negative, like why would anyone join to do that? And so it can be a little scary to be like, hey, I want to do that thing you don't approve of or maybe hate. And then there's other folks, maybe you got girlfriends or wives and you're like, I want to join the military, but understandably my significant other might not like that a whole lot. So this video is more to kind of talk about ways you could bring up your desire while sounding informed and maybe not lose your interest debate off the bat. So something you want to first off be is very well informed. If families are hating on the military, or maybe hating is a bit strong, but just don't think the military is good for really anybody except for what they might deem low-class people, or your girlfriend or husband, boyfriend, whatever. You want to be well informed. So that way when you come at this whole discussion, they might be like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? And then you're like, well, actually, XYZ trumps your card, you. And that would be very behoove of you to just be very super knowledgeable about what you're trying to do. Some things you should definitely know about would be the branch. If you're really wishy-washy on the branch, that would indicate you're not completely made up, and then you're kind of on the fence. So if you're like, I want to be in this branch, that will help. Also, you want to have a job picked out. You can do things like peruse on the internet. You can ask in the comments down below questions, and I will do my best to get to all of your comments and answer questions about jobs or anything else to the best of my ability. And if you know what your job in the branch is, it's a little bit harder to argue that this is a bad move. Something else you would want to know about is what are your civilian career options that this military job would be training you for. I have found in my own experience, my parents, when I was like, hey, I want to be a Marine. Now, this was branch rivalry or whatever, but Marines are kind of typically the scarier to parents and loved ones of the branches due to preconceptions and the truth chair force. But so I was like, hey, I want to join the Marines. I'm going to be in the band. This is why I am excited about it, and this is what I want to do. And they're like, well, this scares the shit out of us, but okay. And so that helps me out. And I think part of that was because I had at least some level of conviction. So not only do you want to be educated and knowledgeable about the branch and the job you want to do, you also want to have conviction. If you're really wishy-washy, it can be harder to sell your parents that or your loved ones that are perhaps against the military. Or if something seems wishy-washy, they might be like, well, you can go to college and try that out and see what you like. Or you could do a year off of high school in between and just like travel around, try things out, see what you like. And so if you do not have conviction, it can make it a little bit harder of a sell to those you're trying to talk to about why you want to join the military and how this is a great idea. And then lastly, to some degree, you gotta just not care. Like if being in the military is something you really want to do, and people are against it, it's really hard to change minds. And if people can tell when you really want to do something, so I guess it's part of the conviction. If people are like, all right, if this guy's going to do it, I might as well support him because that's just what's better to do in this kind of a relationship. That will just help out your case to be really into it. Also, I would argue, while using the military just to go to school and pay for college, and I guess some of this particular video more assumes that perhaps you fall under some sort of a level of privilege where perhaps your folks would be like, but we could pay for X, Y, or Z. Because from my experience, if folks don't come from that privilege, the military is typically viewed as a better option. This is just from my experience of talking with folks. So the whole paying for college thing may not be as big of a sell, which is why I am emphasizing knowing the branch, the pros of the branch. So for example, Air Force, Navy, and Army tend to do bonuses depending upon the job. And then re-enlisting will also have more bonuses. So your family might have a big concern about, well, what about money? You can't pay for anything. And if that's your family, make sure you are aware of maybe any enlistment bonuses. Perhaps just know about the pay structure. Oftentimes people don't know about how you make more money when you get married or if you have kids. Or when you hit a certain rank, you get extra money to live outside of the barracks, and the free medical care. And that could change a lot of minds. I feel like a lot of folks, even maybe parents, and my parents are in their 50s, they are like, hey, not a bad deal to get paid more money for housing and to have free medical ed. We wish we would have had something like that. And so that kind of balances out a lot. If you show just the pay, it'll seem pretty menial, but they don't factor in on those pay charts how much you would make if it was a regular job and they weren't taking out some money for the barracks. Technically, officially, you actually pay to live in the barracks. It's just you don't see the money coming in or then out of your account, so it feels like the barracks are free. You just get paid a little bit less. And so, to some degree, one point of view, the barracks are free. Another point of view, the barracks aren't. And then you don't pay for food. Well, again, it's at the barracks. Technically, you pay for your chow hall, but you don't see it come out of your money. And there's a couple of other things. So it can seem like military folks make a lot less money. But I was just going to throw out an arbitrary number. Say you are in your second year and you're making $1,700 a month. I'm just making this number up. At one point, by the end of my let's use my experience. By the end of my 4 years, I believe I was around the $2,200 range, $2,200 a month, which doesn't seem like a ton. But I have to pay for rent. I have to pay for water. I have to pay for electricity. I have to pay anything for medical. I have to pay anything for dental. And really, at 2,200, I believe, tends to be equated to being more like $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Again, some of that would depend upon zip codes and types of insurance and stuff. So if you are trying to sell to your folks that money is at the very least not bad, making sure you mention the stuff you don't have to pay for might help, especially if your family doesn't have many military ties. Which I would guess, if you're in that kind of more privileged place where parents are like, oh, we could just pay for school, who cares about scholarships, blah, 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 blah. They might not have a whole lot of direct ties to the military, so knowing some of that money information could help. Benefits are also a good thing to know about, and I mean post-service benefits, because medical and stuff would be benefits while you're in. Post-service stuff would be things like the GI Bill. In-service would be the tuition assistance, which is money that they will pay for your college that doesn't come from your GI Bill. I was able, between high school and the military, to get 2 years of college done, and I got my bachelor's done in 2 years. I got 2 years of my GI Bill left. So knowing things like that will help. So make sure you're asking recruiters, doing Google, commenting on the video, and I will do my best to look stuff up or at least point you in decent directions. And the last thing, guys, is you gotta, to some degree, be willing to go against the grain no matter what your parents say. Now, I'm not trying to say if your folks give you some kind of a compelling argument, you should say, no, that's idiotic. What I mean is to some degree, you gotta be able to be like, you know what? Whether these folks will support me or not doesn't necessarily matter a whole lot as far as what I will actually do. Obviously, things are way easier to do with the support of your parents. I feel like I was really lucky where my folks were super duper supportive of it. My mom told me she was scared out of her mind because not only was I going into the military, and I actually gave up a lot of college scholarships. I wouldn't have been able to pay for all school with the scholarships, but it would have been around half, I think is what it was. And she was scared out of her mind. And they're like, why? Like, this dude, I had music and academic scholarships, and they're like, why would he do the military, much less the Marines, who will give him no extra money for hopping in, when he's got all these like people like throwing money at him to go to college and to become a band director. That's what I wanted to do when I was in high school, was to perform and be a band director. But I was convicted? I don't know. I was sold on it. I really wanted to do it, and I was fortunate enough that my parents were like, yeah, we're going to support him on this, and so they made sure I got rides to auditions, and they didn't really fight me a whole lot on this. And then I've got some other friends who were in, and people I just kind of met throughout my joining process whose parents were like, hell no! That's a stupid idea. You ain't gonna do that. And if you're a parent that's maybe trying to be all sneaky and be like, ooh, I want to see what this guy's telling my kid to do. You know what pushes your kid faster to join the military than anything else is telling them not to join the military because you think it's a stupid idea. For some reason, us teenagers, well, I guess I'm 27 now, so I'm no longer a teenager, but at the time, us teenagers, we tend to be really stupid. And if someone says, you can't do something, we're like, haha, we can do it. Watch this, fool. And so if you really are that much into your kid not doing it, just do what my parents did. Support me, make it really like, hey, this is great. I do my time. I hated my life within 1 year and then got the hell out, and now I'm going back. Not trying to say that everyone will hate their time, so we're going to go back to the kids that are watching this, guys. This is a great chance. For me, in my experience, I've had about 10 people I'm rather semi-close with, keep up to date. And you want to know, including myself, how many have gone back? 8. 8 out of 10 have gone back to the Marines. And because of the job market, the job stability, the benefits you get with the military, and then perhaps to some degree you're kind of used to it because 18 to 22 is rather formative, so I think it'd be really biased if I didn't mention that perhaps after a couple of years being out, that seems like a real safety net. I will say, however, out of all the friends that have gone back, I am the latest one to do it. Most of my friends that went back to the Marines went back within 2 years after getting out. For some reason, I'm the oddball going back. By the time I should start OCS, which is Officer Candidate School, it will be close to 5 years since I got out. Actually, it'll be right at 5 years since I started terminal leave. And so I'm the longest person out, and so I feel like I'm coming from a good place of experience of trying to make the civilian world. I've had a bachelor's degree earned for a couple of years. I have a pretty decent resume to include things like Eagle Scout and graduating with distinction from my university. In case anyone's like thinking I'm just a dummy, I have a 3.64 GPA. Not trying to say that's super duper impressive, just trying to say at the very least I don't think I'm an idiot. I think that's a fair thing to say. Alright guys, I hope this video helped you have a better idea how to break the news to your parents, for your loved ones, whether it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse. One of your best friends will be the mortality rate, because a lot of people are worried if you join, they're all going to die. And that is not the case. You have to look up to see exact statistics, but since 1999, it's less than 10,000 service members have been killed from combat. Suicide rate is way higher, that's a different thing. And a different set of reasons too, in my opinion. And like, if you compare that to things like traffic deaths, just people killed by the flu probably. I'm curious now, I might look that up. Odds are more people have been killed by the common cold than by the combat zone since 1999. And I'm going to have to double check and look that up. It just seems like that's probably right, so this is like me ballparking and just guessing. But very few people actually die from combat. As far as moves and stuff go, because I know like my wife, she's like, but we're going to have to move all the time. Well, she's not wrong. However, the military helps you move. For example, when I got out of the Marines, you would think that'd be the time they help you out the least, right? Well, I packed up all my stuff. I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And then I found out if I bring stuff home in my car, I got paid for it. All I had to do was go to a car place that had like a scale, have my car measured weighed before I put all my stuff in it, and then my car measured after I put all my stuff in it. I ended up making like $600 off of everything I fit in my little Ford Focus. And then the rest of the stuff that I wasn't able to move because it couldn't fit in my car, they were like, hey, we're going to send people to move it for you and it won't cost you a thing. And these dudes showed up. I thought I had to have everything boxed up. Turns out, at the time, in 2015, these guys were like, nah, man, like, we have to box it up. So they just put my boxes inside of their boxes, put it on a truck, sent it to where I lived back home in Iowa, and I just basically got home, and then they were like, hey, our stuff is in a local, like, I don't know, supply routing chain distribution center. When can you come by to drop off all your crap? And I was like, oh, just come by, blah, 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 blah. And they dropped off all my stuff for me. Like, the dudes packed me up. If I had packed up stuff into boxes, they would have put it into their own boxes. And I was paid to bring stuff in my own car to wherever it was I was going in Iowa. So moves aren't terrible. Obviously, if you've got things like kids and maybe you're deep rooted in your area, there's other things to consider. But I know one of the common things with spouses is the cost of moving and the cost of, or I guess, and like the wear and tear of that kind of up and going life cycle. Something else my wife had expressed issues about was jobs. She's like, how am I supposed to get jobs? If I'm moving every couple of years, what the heck? Like, why would anyone hire me? Well, there's one thing for civilian jobs, that there's legal protection, things that actually give your spouse preference. Meaning, sometimes there's different application systems where they put points onto an applicant, and being a spouse of a service member would potentially give you something like plus 5 points. I know being a veteran will give you an additional 5 points, which means your application is more likely to be reviewed, and means you're more likely to get an interview, and gives you slight preferential hiring, just because of the fact you're married, or that you have to be married, that you're married to a service member, and sometimes a veteran will apply. And then there's other jobs within the Department of Defense where they almost exclusively hire spouses and dependents of service members. One that my wife is super excited about is she is a licensed teacher for music, and the Department of Defense has its own school system. And it turns out, from my asking around and digging into stuff, they give insane preference to hiring service member spouses. And so while we've been struggling to get into our desired careers on the civilian life, it turns out once I go back in, ideally I'll be living my life to the fullest and to my dream or whatever, and on the Marine Corps side, and she will be able to get hired as a teacher with perhaps more benefits, more pay, more stability, even with moving, than she would if she was a civilian and we were just staying put in Colorado. So I hope that kind of gives you guys some stuff to ask about to a recruiter, to tell your wife about, things that you can look up, and if you're a spouse that's watching this because you're trying to be sneaky, things that you can look up to find out. And then the last thing I will leave off spouses is no other job will pay you more to be married. Like, that's it. Like, civilian jobs, you guys get married, it's like, congratulations, you still make $10 an hour. Military, like, congratulations, here's an extra, like, 10 grand a year. That's how it works out. And then the same thing if you have kids, and if you happen to be a spouse, whether you're the female or the male, or however you assign yourselves genders, if you do, there are things that make being pregnant and having kids a lot easier. I'm more familiar with the pregnancy side, like if my wife was like, I want to get pregnant, which that's all up to her to decide. But if she was to decide that, she would most likely have everything paid for. And if you know anything different than that, please let me know in the comment section. And if you want to adopt, I believe we get some kind of assistance with that. I haven't looked into that whole thing yet, so we're gonna leave it there. And with the adoption within the military, I'd love to maybe either do a show with you or maybe send me some information from your experiences or your expertise, and maybe I can update this more and do some kind of video about what it's like to have kids in all facets while you are in the military. That could be an interesting thing to do. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget, click the like button, subscribe. I'd love for you guys to comment, share what you thought about this video, if the information was useful, pointless, obvious, stupid, brilliant, I don't know. I just like feedback. So put that all down below, and that would help me out a ton. Alright, I am Corporal Church from Operation Defender. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, cheers.